Good everybody, I'm Keandre, this is Hoop Intellect, and welcome back to the channel. Now today we're going to be talking about some first impressions of the top prospects in college basketball. There's nothing too substantial that you can really take from, 2, 3, maybe 4 games from a lot of these guys, but I definitely wanted to get some of these early season thoughts off before we get into, more of the big board, mock draft type of stuff I'm going to be doing in the near future. Yeah, I've got a list of topics that I want to talk about over here, so I'll be looking over here a little bit. And we will talk about the Ignite towards the end of the video. But starting with college basketball, we got to start with Duke and the number one guy right now at the moment to me, Paolo Banchero. So starting with Paolo, he was nothing short of great in his first appearance against Kentucky in the bright lights of Madison Square Garden. He showed a little bit of everything. The first thing that pops is his size. He's a legit 6'10", 6'11", agile athlete, big, strong, physical. That's immediately apparent with him. And it translated to the college level, of course. And then, offensively, he showed off the handle, a really intriguing face-up game, and a few strong drives to the bucket. And he's pretty much kept his play consistent throughout their 3 games, especially statistically, putting up about 19 to 20 points, 8 rebounds. And so far, he's really looked like that number one guy I thought he was coming into the season. If it's one thing that I think that he needs to work on, and it's showed itself, in the past as well, but also in these first couple games, is his ability to read those double teams, make the passes quickly, and also dribbling in traffic. Those kind of things are definitely areas I think that he can work on and improve. But in a lot of other areas, there's been a whole lot to like with him. But on to the next person, his teammate Trevor Keels. He kind of stole the show in night 1. You had everything you saw from him in the past, plus more was there. He's a big physical guard who absolutely hounded the talented guards in TyTy Washington and Sahvir Wheeler of Kentucky. And then, the shining moment for him was probably the creation in the pick and roll for himself and others, which is an area that'll shape his overall stock and potential. He hasn't shot it particularly well yet in the games following. They're playing right now, so some of these opinions could change a little bit. From what he's shown, just a tough-nosed defensive guard in that Lou Dort kind of mold. I like him a lot, and I think that at the moment he'd be in the first round of prospects to me. But keeping it with Duke here in the beginning, we've got AJ Griffin. He's still slowly coming along off the injury. He's contributed a little bit. He's had some nice flashes. You can see his athleticism pop quite a bit, but he's clearly not all the way there yet. I'm not really gonna put any type of expectations until we really get to see him in an actual defined role and he's actually in game shape and things like that. He's going to have to show certain things for him to kind of maintain that mid-lottery type of stock. But for now, you kind of just leave things for development. Mark Williams, he hasn't played, great. He's kind of gotten played off the floor against a couple of these teams, which is not ideal, especially for somebody who has legitimate NBA hopes. I think he's still been pretty good on the interior defensively in the 20-ish minutes he's been playing, except against Campbell, like I said, where he played 6. The big test, and one that should favor him, or at least be friendly to him matchup-wise, is against Gonzaga in a couple weeks. So that's a definite one to watch and a big game for him for his NBA future. Because, in all actuality, we've only seen about less than 10 really good games of Mark Williams in college so far. So he's still got a lot to prove. But moving on to the other team in that first matchup, we have Kentucky. So TyTy Washington is a guard who I really like coming in. He did not shoot the ball very well. He was decent. He got some good looks. Shot was not falling. And of course, he had Trevor Keels, who I think when everything is said and done is going to end up being one of the better defenders that he faces all year, if not the best. It'll make a little bit more sense in hindsight, I think. He had some misreads. Playmaking still has to come along. I think it will as the course of the season goes. I think that he might settle in a little bit more into sort of a Tyrese Maxey type of role, especially with Sahvir there doing a lot with the ball. But I still got a lot of faith in his game, and I think that he'll showcase it in a big way throughout the season. Daimion Collins, his teammate, who's had a lot of NBA buzz coming in, long, athletic big man. He did not play very much in the opener at all. He might as well not have even played at all. But there is still a lot of potential there, and he bounced back in a big way in the Game 2 win against lesser competition. Defensively, he was all over the place in a good way. Athletically, he had a really big time dunk, and that's exactly what you knew he was going to bring to the table. Somebody who kind of in the vein of a Kai Jones, just that rangy kind of forward with a lot of potential. It's not completely realized yet, and of course Jones, he did 2 years in college, so we'll see what happens with Collins throughout this season. But first impression wise, raw, same things that you kind of thought coming in. But yeah, so now on to Chet Holmgren of Gonzaga. He was really good against Dixie State. Of course, who to the masses, who is Dixie State? He put up 14 points, 13 boards, 6 assists, and 7 blocks. I think that's going to be something that we see throughout the season. Even though he did not play well against Texas, and you could kind of see the physicality of the game sort of getting to him in a way that I felt like was there. That's not calling him soft. I feel like every time that you bring up some certain things about physicality on certain levels of the game, people will automatically assume that you're calling him soft. That is not the case. It's just something that's real, and it's there, and he's gonna have to adjust to. And another thing about his game, he's not going to naturally go out there and get you 30 or try to take 25 shots or something. If that's just not his game. He's going to make the right read, make the right plays, handle the ball, do a lot of different things on the court, block a lot of shots, tremendous timing. They're very different players, but sort of in the way that Evan Mobley affected the game at USC. I think people, whenever you have that sort of title, the number one player or number one pick potential, people automatically expect you to come out there and give people 50 points, or he did a between the legs step back 3. That's not always going to be the case. And with a guy like Chet, you got to look at the other areas, how he's affecting the game. And I think he'll bounce back as the season progresses and not have 2 points against in a big game like that. That's just going to be something to watch with him, how he adjusts and how he figures out his role within the offense and how to affect the game. But as of now, he's still one of the top prospects in the class, and I don't think that people should immediately change their minds after a less than stellar performance. It's pretty clear that Julian Strawther and Andrew Nembhard are going to play the bulk of the minutes, have the biggest responsibilities in this backcourt, which is fine and was kind of expected. That's why I was kind of a little hesitant to put Nolan Hickman and Hunter Salas in the boards and things of that nature. But I think next year is the year we really talk about Hunter Salas and Nolan Hickman as NBA prospects. I still think both of them will make a bigger impact this season than they have so far, but they do have some work to do and things to show. But Gonzaga is going to be really good, and that's a positive experience. We'll see how everything turns out. Now to UCLA, who is another great college basketball team with a few NBA prospects. Starting with Peyton Watson, I'm not sure that he's going to be a one and done. I just don't know that he's going to, one, get the opportunity to show it and make mistakes on a team that has like really high aspirations, and also has guys like Johnny Juzang and Jaime Jaquez, who are 2 of the 10 best college basketball players in the country. I think that's pretty undebatable. So they're going to get the bulk of the minutes. I think there's still an opportunity for him to find a niche on this team and then, be able to show just enough in like a Patrick Williams way, or maybe a Josh Primo type of way, and find his way into the NBA as a one and done in that way. But right now, just based on how he's had 0 in the last 2 games, 7 points in the first one. He was solid in the first game, and that's why I thought that Patrick Williams Primo type of role might work out for him. But I don't know how the rest of the season is going to turn out for him, but I still like him a lot as a long-term prospect, somebody who's got a scoring upside, a really good defender. But when you play 6 minutes in an overtime game against Villanova, it's just very hard to be a lottery prospect. And unless something changes, that's just kind of how I see it. But to his teammates, Jaime Jaquez has really impressed me. I think he can be a legitimate role guy in that late first round to early second round type of mix. He just knows how to play the game. Simply put, he can affect the game in multiple ways and has grown more comfortable on the perimeter. Not the greatest athlete, but he makes up for it with his IQ. I just really like him a lot. And then Johnny Juzang, really talented scorer, but some other things there. But we'll see how he develops throughout this season. But moving on, try to get through some of these a little bit quicker. Patrick Baldwin Jr. out at Wisconsin, Milwaukee. You're not going to see a ton of national coverage on him until they possibly make the tournament, if they can. but he's still just an excellent wing scorer and shooter. They lost against Eastern Kentucky. That wasn't an ideal game, but I still think that he's got serious top 5 potential in this class. And then another guy who has real top 5 potential has made a great impression on me, just being unsure about a couple of things that I've seen from him in the past, playing with the Atlanta Celtics and some other high school games, is Jabari Smith out of Auburn. The stats from game 2 backed up the flashes from game 1. He's got a great handle at his size, and he's one of the better shooting big prospects that I can remember in the last several years. I think that he's got to be top 3, and that's being generous. I think that he might just be the one. He's got a ton of defensive potential as well. Let's put that on display. Definitely some things to patch up that we won't get into detail about right now, but just seeing him do this on the college level and put up those type of numbers and the freedom that Coach Pearl has given him to bring the ball up the court and be him, it's just a really good combination to watch. And I think that he's seriously going to be in that definite top 3 conversation, but probably make a run at the number 1 pick. I just think that's the type of talent that he is and can be. So Jabari Smith, one to watch for sure if you haven't already. Going back to the first night, a prospect that I wanted to talk about is Kansas' Ochai Agbaji. He has been lighting it up. He looks so much more comfortable with the basketball, just scoring, taking initiative on offense. That's something that I've really wanted to see from him ever since his freshman year, when he had that really good stretch and was winning minutes over Quentin Grimes. I like him so far. I think that he's made the necessary improvements. Obviously, defensively, if you watched him before, that's what he brings to the table first and foremost. But the other side of the ball, he's coming on pretty nicely. If he keeps this consistency up, I think that he's got, even as a senior, he's got top 25-ish type of potential. Maybe even higher. Maybe I'm selling him too short, but that's what I see out of him. To Purdue's Jaden Ivey, he did not shoot the ball well in the opener, which wasn't great, but he's a great example of why you can't overreact too much after one game, or you had these high expectations for him to be like the top 5 pick or whatever you might have had coming in, and then in the next game he looked unbelievable. But he had 27, missed only 3 shots from the field. Definitely one of those ones to watch. There's not really too much to take out of those games other than he's got the clear freedom and confidence to take that next step and improve on a lot of the weaknesses we've seen in the past. Another top prospect, Caleb Houstan out of Michigan. He's a great 3-and-D wing prospect with that offensive upside that'll probably only show itself in flashes this year, but based on what we've seen in the past, that there's a little bit more there. Now, another big-time freshman that's been impressive is Kennedy Chandler. He's been excellent so far through a couple games, and he has a chance to really grab the reins of the best lead guard prospect in the class. He's confident, taking shots from deep. He's finishing in traffic, making good passes, the full arsenal. This point guard class isn't strong by any means, but I think if Kennedy continues to put this level of play on display, it's going to be hard to take another lead guard above him, even at that size. That's just a testament to his game. Keegan Murray of Iowa, he has taken a really big step forward this year so far. Offensively, he's averaging about 25 and with 3 blocks in only 20 minutes of play a game. He's had like 20 plus in the first half of both of these games. He's already showed some encouraging signs, shooting 4 for 7 from 3 and 11 for 11 from the line. He's a really good defender, got a lot of versatility. And like I said, if he's consistently better offensively, he's going to be very intriguing for a lot of teams, even as an older sophomore. One guy that we talked about a lot in the 2 previous videos on this draft is Michigan State's Max Christie. He hasn't performed quite how a lot of people had expectations for him, but he got some good looks in both of those games. They just didn't knock him down. One thing that's promising about him is Tom Izzo really loves him as a player as a freshman, and that's very hard respect to earn. So, that's got to be a positive sign. And I'm still interested to see how he gets it going this year. Keeping it moving, we've got Julian Champagnie out of St. John's. Like I anticipated, he's getting a very easy 20, barely breaking a sweat on what looks like it's going to be a pretty improved St. John's team. We've got guys like Posh Alexander taking a step forward. Really like his skill set as a 6'8" dude who can score in a variety of ways. Going to Memphis, starting with Jalen Duren. He's just been himself, big physical body who does damage in the post and on the glass, and is always a threat defensively. He's kind of been just as expected. His teammate Emoni Bates, one of the most popular high school players of the last several years, he is actually not eligible for the 2022 NBA draft because he's still 17 right now, so he doesn't turn 18 until January of 2022. You have to be 19 in the calendar year of your draft year. So next year he'll only be 18, not eligible for 2022. He will be eligible for the 2023 draft unless they change something. But as his game goes, I've been impressed so far. This kid has had a ton of pressure put on him for a while, and I personally just like seeing him succeed. He's a terrific scoring and offensive talent. Offensive arsenal that he has in his game at such a young age is really special. I'm excited to see him be a positive basketball player within the structure of a program that isn't completely focused on him. That hasn't been the case a lot of the time in the past, but in this structure with Memphis, with Penny coaching him, I really like it. One thing specifically that I want to watch is how he progresses as a playmaker, because I do think that he has a lot of potential there. Shout out to Penny for putting the ball in his hands, and we're going to see how things work out for him this year. And then who knows what happens if he stays another year at Memphis or if he goes to the G League. But within college basketball, Emoni Bates should be a name that you're going to want to tune into. We've got a few more players that I want to talk about. Down in Texas, we've got Baylor's Kendall Brown. He's looked really great in his first couple games. If you've ever watched him before, it's a lot of the same. He's a good defender. He's a great cutter. Ridiculous athlete, especially when he can get to that launch pad off 2 feet. He still needs some work on his handle, but he's really played inside of himself and not tried to do too much. Made some really good passes that I did not expect to see this early on. He had 8 assists in the first half the other day. There's still some things that he can work on, but I think if he continues to knock down those open threes and play the way that he has within his game, he's going to be a definite top 20 guy, and somebody who maybe he's not the textbook type of star, but somebody who is going to help a team win, and that's always enticing for teams at the top of the draft. So shout out to Kendall Brown for how he's played early on, and his teammates, Jeremy Sochan and Matthew Meyer, they've been really good. Sochan, really good athlete. He's hit some threes. He's displayed some defensive versatility, guarding multiple positions, driving to the basket, making a few really nice passes. It's been a good start to the season for him. And then, Meyer, he's been the same guy. Now we'll just briefly mention a few others. Marcus Bagley, I haven't been too impressed with. Don't want to be too harsh early, but he's made some really bad gambles defensively. It burnt him on that game winner from half court or whatever against Riverside. But the skill set for him as a 3-and-D wing is still obviously there. Terrence Shannon, I definitely wanted to mention him because this is such a weird situation. He's currently being held out over, I quote, what is an abundance of caution to make sure he didn't violate rules during the draft process. New day, same random rules that the NCAA keeps making up that doesn't positively or negatively impact anyone or give anybody an advantage. So hopefully he gets out on the court, sooner than later, because he's somebody who should be in the thick of the NBA draft conversation. Mike Miles at TCU is going to put up some serious numbers this year as the unquestioned number 1 guy every night. It'll be interesting to see how he handles that, especially as they get into Big 12 play. But right now, pretty much good for an automatic 20 every night, I would say. I'll definitely want to see how he continues to develop as a passer. And then Ben Mathurin at Arizona, not really gotten off to a very good start in his first couple games. Give him time though, of course. Definite first round potential still there. Last person, college basketball, I know we've gotten through a whole lot, but Caleb Love at UNC, he was terrific in the opener against Loyola. He was good against Brown, in my opinion, even though he only took 9 shots. He's been to the line already 16 times this year and is shooting 4 of 10 on threes. Only 1 turnover on the year as well. So, like what I've seen from him, hopefully he keeps it up and continues to, take initiative and be that lead guy for them. But yeah, to finish it up, let's go ahead and get into some early G League Ignite thoughts. Jaden Hardy is the top guy of this team, the top prospect, and he's kind of struggled quite a bit from the field early on, and especially finishing at the basket. So that's an area that you're going to want to watch for. But the scoring potential is so obviously there. He has had some moments as a passer and defender that are definitely improvements from high school. They might not show up on the box score, but making this leap to this level, it's clear that you can see it. And of course, the shot selection and decision making overall is still very sporadic at times. Moving on, we've got Marjon Beauchamp. He's been a really bright spot for them, hitting threes, playing great defense. I think at this rate, he's going to make serious first round noise. And though there are some other guys on this team who I currently like as prospects a bit more, he's performed the best so far, and against this high level competition. You know, these are real guys, so it's been impressive to see. Next one, we've got Dyson Daniels. He's had some ups and downs so far, but I've actually really enjoyed his game, and especially when he's handled the ball. I'm not saying that he's going to be this engine guard who does it all for you offensively, but his passing ability certainly pops in comparison to a lot of his teammates. He's not a great athlete and has had some rough moments defensively at times, but overall I think he's been that mid to late first round type of prospect I thought that he was coming in. So definitely excited to see how he continues to progress. I know he had 22 in one of those games. I think it was against the Lakers. So, and the last guy we'll talk about with the Ignite first impression wise is Mike Foster. One thing I can already tell about Mike Foster is that there's going to be a high variance in how different people view him as an NBA prospect. He's always looking to get a bucket, and he has done so far, even against the likes of the Serge Ibaka's, the Harry Giles that I mentioned earlier. I'm still trying to get more of a feel of him overall as a player. I'm not too high on him right now, but you know, he's got plenty of time to show and prove different things. And yeah, that's kind of the Ignite so far. It's been interesting to see them with fans and going up against guys who we've seen in previous drafts, guys who should be making sizable contributions to an NBA team either this year or definitely in the next year, and not in a bubble scenario. So that kind of throws things off. But yeah, it's been fun to see and fun to watch for sure. That's gonna do it for this video. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and definitely comment down some things that have caught in your eye early on in this college basketball season, or you know, some smaller school prospects who you think might make some noise either this year or in the coming years. Just comment all that down below. I want to get the conversation started a little bit, and I'll be responding to, you know, some of you guys. So yeah, I'm Keandre, this is Hoop Intellect, and I'm out.
24/7 like the Waffle House. Retail phone field and talk about might pull your girl with a head nod. I used to offer